Good evening and welcome to the Now Debate. I am Jared Walters with my beautiful partner in crime, Mr. Richard Oliver. Oh, I just knocked the microphone. Richard, how are you?
I'm good. I am good.
Excellent. Well, today we are taking a bit of a spiritual route because we are going to be talking, well, not so much a spiritual route, but we're going to be talking about some of the crazy things that's going on in the world at the moment and how we actually can stay sane around them. And everything is our opinion as normal, but we thought we'd have a bit of a discussion about just how we're coping, basically, mentally, physically, spiritually, with all the conflicting information, all the craziness that seems to be happening, and also asking the question, do we need to be waking people up, which is another topic that we've kind of thought to discuss today. So Richard, what updates do you have, and what is it that you would like to impart to us to get us started this evening?
Well, I don't know if we're the best candidates for this subject, Jack, because I think we're crazy as a box of frogs.
Well,
but we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, well, I suppose what we could say is, in order to survive crazy, just be crazy. Should we just roll the credits?
Yeah, just be crazier than 2020 if that's doable. You might be in good stead then. But no, news. It's news every day. I mean, this you can't call it. It's about. You just look at any social media at the moment, and you just can't call it. You've got such conflicting stories, views. You've got people who I never would have thought would have been on the side of right, and then you've got those you'd never think would be on the wrong side, so you just can't call it. I think it's just sort of. I think you've got to sort of stay within your own circle, I think. And just take a viewpoint and hold it. And if anything changes it, and that's how I'm doing it at the moment. I'm just taking what I think I know, and I looked at everything I've seen, and I'm holding on to that. And if something changes it, or something changes my mind, and I'm just sort of waiting for that moment. And that's how I'm dealing with the information. Is hard enough, let alone the presence of everything that's going on with masks, social distancing, people in power saying this thing and doing the complete opposite of the rules. You know, there's enough going on to tip you. I mean, divides within social groups, family groups. It's a lot. It is really weighing hard on people.
Well, I'm looking at what's going on, and I've been looking at like the protests, like the anti-lockdown protests and things on Saturday, right? And I'm seeing people say choose your side, and I'm thinking to myself, right, really, is that really what we need to be doing right now? Is telling people, even if they are like police officers, and I firmly understand like the sort of police brutality that we've seen. We've seen it in the fracking protests, we've seen it in the Black Lives Matter protests, we've seen it in pretty much any protest that we've seen in the last 6, 7, 8 years. But really asking people to choose their side and sort of. This is, and I've been sitting there looking at the sort of things like the QAnon movement and things like that. There's too many people speaking, and there's not enough people listening. And I think what I've been trying to do this year is I've really been trying to listen, and the visualization I've been kind of holding is like standing on a rooftop. So you're standing like when you've got like a rooftop. I know you can't see me, Rich, because of Windows' stupid thing where you can't actually send a webcam to both feeds. But if you imagine like a rooftop where you've got like it's like a slope and it goes to a point. And if you imagine you're standing on the top of there and you're trying to look at all sides of the argument, or if you're I try and sort of like look at each side of things and look at all where it's all coming from, because when I'm looking at like the individual sides, each individual side is not, you know, not adding up. I remember someone saying to me a couple of weeks ago about, you know, anti-maskers and sort of conspiracy theorists and that sort of thing. It was like, well, do you remember the things about biometrics that was coming up last year, and everyone was out in outcry about facial recognition and that sort of thing? Well, the one thing that kind of opposes that is wearing a mask, because unless you've got, you know, the state of communist China, you know, the technology that we have can't work around that identification at the present moment. We're not saying it's not getting to that point, but I'm looking at the discussions people are having, and they're missing the points. They're not talking about, you know, there's certain things which is frustrating me that they're not talking about, which is I'm finding it when I'm hearing about loved ones that are being ill, or who are ill and are being sort of mistreated through that. When I'm hearing about things like these frigging DNRs which have been going around, when I hear about how people are being treated in care homes and that sort of thing, I'm like, are we having the wrong conversation here? Does that make any sort of sense? That's kind of like where I am with it at the moment.
It's what they're not saying you need to be looking at. It's what they're not telling us. It's what they're not drumming up. Is where you need to really look. You know, if you look at, you know, there's so much to look at, but it's what they're not saying is where the truth is. So, you know, it's like they're trying to create divide. It's like pick a side. Yeah. It doesn't matter if I believe that all this is nonsense, right? But I will still wear a mask. Yeah. And I will still try to social distance. I will not see my family if I've been COVID clear for 14 days or I haven't been in contact with anyone. That's ridiculous. And I will not see the people I care about, because that's another level. Yeah. But you know, you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want to wear an hazmat suit, wear one. Like, that's what makes you feel safe. Then there's no problem in that. You can still say there's something dodgy going on, and stick to the rules. You can't really lose, and you're on a win-win.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've basically observed the lockdown ever since March. To be honest with you, I haven't really left my house. You know, we haven't done any cases. Which is mental health wise, it has had an impact. It's caused considerable impact on my mental health. I've got to be honest, because I haven't been able to get the stimulation that I would normally be getting. I haven't been to get the things done that I've normally been getting. And obviously I don't drive. So in order to go anywhere, I would need to go public transport, which at the moment is a risk I'm not really prepared to take. So, and people are not talking about that. They're not talking about the mental health impact. And I'm looking at the mainstream media as well. It's like literally every morning I'm waking up, you're getting news flashes. It's like, you know, this minister's come out and saying this minister's come out and saying that, literally hourly at the moment. And you're thinking to yourself, right, well, I'm not being funny, but give people a chance. Give people a chance to sort of, you know, to move forward with this. You're expecting people to become compliant, and you're expecting people to work together on this, but then you were literally coming out with something else, you know, 2 or 3 hours after you've announced the last thing. So, you know, what the hell are you expecting people to do? And as you said, it's almost like it's being done. One of two things is happening. This is either being done intentionally, and they are ramping things up so that certain people can profit or benefit from this, or what it's doing is it's bringing out all the tensions and all the crap. Like we said when this first started, it's holding a mirror up to the world. It's holding a mirror up to ourselves, and we're looking at other people. And we've always said this on this channel, that the first place any of us need to start is ourselves. How do we feel about the information that's that's being presented. How do we feel about the different sort of battle lines, and I don't like calling it that, but that's kind of what it is, that are being drawn here at the moment, where people are finding themselves in sort of a position where, you know, I've seen Christian groups, you've got Christians saying, wake up and believe in Jesus. I'm seeing anti-vaccine groups who are saying, wake up and stop taking vaccines. And I'm seeing this group and saying, wake up, and I'm thinking, you're all shouting wake up to people, but you didn't arrive at whatever viewpoint you arrived at by someone shaking you and waking you up. You arrived at whatever viewpoint or wherever you stand on this through your own experience. So the least you can actually do is allow other people to go through the same process. From a spiritual point of view, when people go through sort of awakenings, or when their gifts start coming out, or when they start seeing the holes in the world, like the messages we've had from the Council of 12, you know, that people are going to start to realise there's problems the way the world is. You know, we were allowed to come through that ourselves. And all we did is we had discussions, we had talks, and we still do that with people today. That's the purpose, one of the purposes behind this channel, is to have the conversation. But whether people choose to actually take that conversation and add to that discussion is ultimately down to them. And you can't, that's their choice. That's their free will, God-given right.
Mm. Well, the thing is, I mean, you can look at it, right, from any angle, but is it going to make you happier, right? Yeah. So if you go down this road and you start to look at, say, all this, like the sinisterness of this world, I don't believe it's going to make you any happier. Right? No. Truthfully. And it is that, you know, the old adage, ignorance is bliss. But if it's what you're willing to accept to exist. Right?
Yeah.
And there is enough of us now. There is enough people out there questioning everything. Right? That we can stand and say, we, you know, this, and it's getting to the point where enough is enough. But as for, I mean, your own sort of sanity, it's looking at the, I mean, life is rough enough as it is sometimes, right? Yeah. It can be extraordinary. With everything, the price of everything and the cost of living and everything, but you can have so much. Like, you can find out so much about yourself and about the unseen world and about spirituality and about spirit and about all these mysteries that this world has to offer. And it does, that's separate to what is going on, the big picture, if you like, what's going on behind the scenes, you know, in the world, as in like politics and social status and everything. So, I mean, it's going to be difficult if they lock people down again, which they are trying to do. It's going to be hard on people. I mean, the first lockdown we just had was incredibly hard for some.
Yeah.
It wasn't the learning experience it should have been.
No.
And no, I don't. I personally don't think it was, because I know a lot more people seem to be coming forward and saying, speaking up now, right? In that regard, so it did give people time to sit and ponder and have the opportunity to look at the world around them. But it's where you want to. It's what you want to do with your life. It's like what's important to us. These are the things that we're asked to look at.
Yeah.
And I think this is the teaching of spirituality and of spirit, and of anybody that goes on that journey to look inwardly through meditation, is to find out where your path is and what your purpose is in the world, and where you fit and what your goals are, and you start to see this, everything sort of lifts. And even when at moments when you think, I just can't do any more of this, you just you'll find that you can. There is a better way. There's so many people I've come across in my life who have had experiences where they've lost someone, right, through depression, all these different factors. And the alternative is always better. That leaves everyone else with an unanswerable question, and it leaves it to people like me and Jazz and other people we know who communicate with spirit to give you them answers. But the alternative is always better. There is always someone. You just got to look. It's no good looking on Facebook for a hand up, really. It's not good for that, because people will give their messages because they want to be seen, because this is the way the world is, a fast-paced world. They want to be seen that they care. But there is the real people who really, really will hold their hand out for you. And you can find them. Just got to look. There's so many people who are in, we live in a world of, nearly 8 billion people now. And they reckon the majority of people are genuinely lonely, which is insane.
Especially in how connected we are as a world at the moment. For digitally connected.
Yeah, digitally connected is a completely different thing to that emotional connection you get from a hug, or that shoulder to cry on, or that face that understands, and that heartfelt, sincere yearning to listen. There's quite a substantial difference between looking for that on social media, actually really having it, when that someone comes to you when no one else will.
Yeah.
And, you're going to be that person, even if you're struggling. You're going to be that person that might be that shoulder that somebody needs to lean on. Even as hard as it is in the now and in the time to come, that's where you're going to be. That's where you're going to be for someone else. And that is worth a lot. That's worth fighting on for. That's worth kicking it and finding out about, this, because it is. I've had moments in my life where I thought, oh, wow, how did I end up here? Do you know what I mean? What the cow? In the entire infinity of the universe, I landed here. And
I can agree with that. It's
funny, but it's true. I exist planet Earth in the 1900s when I was born, and now we're in the 2020, and look at what has become of this world. And I have had their moments. I thought, really, but I want to see us get out of it. I want to see us make this world a better place. I need to.
Yeah.
There's people here I care about, and I want to make sure that this world is a better place. And that's enough to just keep you going.
Yeah.
It's that snowball. It just keeps that momentum. I've looked at a lot, right? And this is the only way I can put it. And this is trying to put some positivity on it. I've looked at a lot in my life, and I have researched so much, and I have communicated with spirit even when I've doubted it. I've meditated even when I've doubted that. I found things in books that were written way before our time, and there is a real spiritual message in it that says this has to happen before the new can start.
Yes.
The better world can start. We're all got complacent. We're all consumed by money. We're all consumed by the things we think we need, garnish and nonsense. And the real world, what our potential for the world is wanted for us, is right within our grasp.
Yeah.
You literally hold it in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
And it's coming. That I know. That I feel it in my bones.
Totally agree with that. And
paradise is coming.
And that's the thing, but it's like throughout this journey, the one thing it's always said is the answer is within each of us. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why there's so much conflict of information and things, is because we have a diversity of viewpoint, when I say a diversity of viewpoint, but people are seeing things from different points of view, and these different points of view are, we've not quite worked out as society, on a society level, how to accept these different points of view. And I think for those of us who have had these experiences, is you've got to kind of be like what's happened to us, you know, like I've been telling my story on this channel now, and in the videos going out tomorrow, I make the point of, like, through what we did in the Now investigations, through all the different experiences of that, I was given a gift. And that gift was simply just someone I cared about just basically held their hand out and said, I love you. And that's, do you know what? That's sometimes been the hardest thing to face. It's been the hardest thing to face, has been the kindness and that love. Because even when we fuck up, even when we screw up, that kindness, that caring has always been there. And it's like, that's what I want to do for other people. I do it for myself now. Is I you know, because we do need to do it for ourselves as well as others. We do need to have that hand holding for ourselves, and we do need to sort of put ourselves sometimes in positions where we take the hand of those around us that are holding their hand out to us. But also we need to, you know, understand that rather than telling people we should believe this and we should believe that, is that we hold out our hand and we help them through their own journey. It's like, I've had mentors and people who have helped me and always say, I can't tell you how to write the book, but what I can do is teach you the language it's written in. And, you know, like you just said, and you said that quite poignantly, it's like the answer for each of us is within us. We need to stop looking outside ourselves and start, you know, this is what I think was the lesson for, you know, why we had such a break with all these lockdowns. And I have seen a lot of people who are doing it, is asking themselves, you know, what is it? What is it that I want in my life? What is it that I want to achieve? What is it that's important to me? And why is it important to me? What is it that my heart wants that I need to follow? And even if, other people don't quite get it, or other people don't quite believe in it, you know, we can still have that conversation that allows each of us to, you know, move forward and become the best us that we possibly can be. And I suppose it comes back to that thing, doesn't it? You're only tested when the chips are down and you're in a crisis. When everything's sort of hunky-dory, you know, you do get complacent. But when the chips are down and things are, how can I put this? Things are sort of, you know, moving at quite a fast pace. Can we still take that time out and just simply be? There's a lot of people in this world that forget that, you know, we are human beings, and it's a case of sometimes just being there, just being in that moment. When you're with someone that you love, just literally appreciating that moment. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen a minute from now, what was happening yesterday. Just simply be in that moment and simply feel what that, you know, ask yourself when you're in that moment, what is it I'm feeling right now? What is it that you know, is going around in my head right now? Just becoming aware of just the gift of each moment, each person that we actually, you know, interact with, especially now when it's being limited who we can actually interact with physically in person.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, they want, right, this is how it looks, right? Divide. It's like this pandemic is like, you've seen it written, it's like war, right? Because it controls the people, right? And the powers that be love anything that controls the people. It keeps the people just exactly where they want them, right? But you don't have to be in a conflict with someone, right? I'm not going to be little someone or be cruel to someone or look down on someone if they believe, right? If this is the narrative, if they believe that somehow one bat in Wuhan market caused the biggest pandemic on Earth, and Bill Gates is sitting there with a big tub of vaccine waiting to jab you with it. That's...
We seem to be losing the connection now, Rich. Rich, you still with us? We seem to be...
that story.
Right, if you could, can you repeat that point, Rich? We lost. We lost your connection. Can you repeat that point?
That was a bit ominous, wasn't it? On that point now.
As soon as you mention Mr. Gates, the entire thing goes down.
Seriously, come on, jump on. No, if
have a chat with him.
Yeah, if that's what you want to believe, right? If that's what you want to believe, then believe it, but don't put it down on anybody that doesn't believe that narrative, right? Because you can stand in the same queue with that person, you can stand in the same protest, right? You can stand shoulder to shoulder with that person because they have just as much right to believe what they believe as you do. Yeah. And that's how anybody comes to me with a different view, I say what I believe, and I'll state the reasons, and you can say what you believe. That's fine.
Yeah.
The truth will come out as it comes out.
Yes.
If more of us, it's like say for example 9/11. If more people pushed for the truth of 9/11, we'd know the truth now.
Yeah.
Right. There's so many occasions where if we pushed for the truth, we know it. But it doesn't always work that way. But the more of you stand to say, well, I want to know what this person wants to know. Because I believe the story, but this person doesn't. I want you to answer to it.
Yeah. I
want you to tell this person why I believe what I believe. I want you to convince that person maybe. Right? Tell them what, you can do it. We can all participate in it. Even if we have conflicting ideals.
Yeah, of course.
We can still participate in the same narrative. We can still find the answers. Because I want to know why that person believes that. It's the same for anything. And the divide is what they're looking for. This is what religion does. It wants you to be divided. And there's only one reason for that, right? And it's nothing to do with God. If religion says that you must believe in this and not this, and believe in this but not this, there's only one possible outcome for that purpose, and that is it wasn't written by the person you think it was.
Yeah.
It didn't come from a spiritual source, because spirit, in all my time delving into this, in all the years I've been doing it, I've never had that message.
No.
You must tell people to believe this and nothing else. They've never said that to me. Or it's never come up. No. They've gone, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I know there's that story and there's that story. I know, and they're both, but if you look, they come some ways, some might work, they tie up. That's the message I've had. You've got to look. You don't take your blinkers off. You've got to open your mind up to it all and find the best of it. The best of it
exactly,
is
yes.
where the truth is.
It's okay to say have an open mind, but I have an open mind that is an agenda that this cabal controls the world, and it's all done through these groups and these networks. But and if you believe anything else, you don't have an open mind. Well, actually, no, that's the mindset of a closed mind. What you're saying could be true. What you're saying could be 100% true, and there is a lot of evidence to back it up. But at the end of the day, someone else could take a look at that evidence, the same evidence, and they could form a completely different opinion because they have different experiences. And because they say, do you know what I'm trying to say? And like, what I suppose we need to do is rise above that kind of argument and say, well, if you either look at it as conspiracy or cock up, as I heard, continuous cock up, or some form of conspiracy. At the end of the day, if people started to look at themselves, and we all started to help each other and have these conversations with each other and ask each other why we believe what we believe, but what can we do with it? What can we find the common ground on? What is it that we both don't like? Well, I find human trafficking quite abhorrent. Well, yeah, so do I. Right, well, let's focus on that then. What can we do about that? I think what we're doing to the environment is quite abhorrent. Well, what can we do about that then? You know, there's plenty of ways that you can find those niches that you both agree in, and then whether or not, you know, either the cock-ups will stop happening because people are participating a lot more, which is what's happening. I think this is where you got your institutions that are quite out of touch, because with social media, the amount of information and the freedom to participate and have these conversations that we have with these platforms, that you're finding that the institutions are so out of touch now, because they are still coming at it from a mindset of about 20 years ago. That is also real. So it's not just cut and dry, it's multi-layered. And unless you accept that multi-layered nature of it, yes, there is corruption in the way the world is run. Of course there is. There's corruption in the way your local councils run. There's probably corruption in most businesses which have, you know, quite large. Whether that's a boss that doesn't want to do his job, or someone that's, you know, someone that's bullying someone else because they happen to have a different colour skin. All of it, from certain points of view, actually is true or has truth in it. It depends on which way you are coming along of it, and our diversity is something that actually needs to be celebrated, and it's not something that we unfortunately do celebrate. It's something that we fight against.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard if you think that genuinely the government or a leading body of any kind has the best interests of all of us right at their core, right? Then if that was the case, we wouldn't be in this situation, right? We'd have a perfect health system. We'd have we'd just have a perfect system. If that was their fundamental goal, right, was to keep humanity ticking, right? Not money ticking, humanity, people, right? Keep people to have a long, healthy, happy, perfect life, right? Which is, you can argue with me on this, is really achievable, right? Is doable, right? Under any circumstances, it's well doable.
Of course.
If you look at that, if you believe that, then you're all right. But if you don't believe that, then it's probably because the majority don't believe that. You know, it's not. It doesn't add up to that. It doesn't look that way, does it? So if they're not doing that, then we need someone who's gonna achieve it. And this is what we keep perpetuating. This is what keeps happening. We keep putting our values on things and materialistic things and nonsense over what is really important. And one day I think humanity will learn it. I think they'll discover the crazy wonder that life is, and we'll push past it. And I think we're on the last couple of stepping stones to it. This is a big test for humanity. This isn't like you've got somebody that's rose up and is choosing to put their ideals over the world in that sense. This is an ideal that's being manipulated into the world. This is subversive. This is sort of like something else. This isn't like a war, like a dictator's come forward and is pushing people. I mean, you look at people that, like in China and North Korea, and look at the way the circumstances they live under is so incredible, because they don't care, right? They don't care how he looks. Kim Jong-un doesn't give two hoots how he looks. He has the power, he has the people, he can make his will put on the people. But with our societal structure, they have to do it on the sneak. They have to do it in dark ways. They have to do it And we can. It's not a big deal to stand for it. It's not going to, we don't have to go out in the streets with hammers and bats and start, that's, we're never going to get anywhere like that. We just have to stand up and say, nah, out. And we get the right people to move them on.
Well, I want
the right.
I want to get bring some attention to the chat, because we've actually got some people on the chat that have basically been so I want to bring that into the conversation. We've got Amanda that has been saying, I'm not sure what I believe, but one thing I'm sure, it didn't came from a bat. Connie G says it is a constant process. The game is control. The battle is ultimately spiritual in nature, and she's also put they are purposefully toying with us to keep us in a state of instability. Now, yeah, but that could actually be. I agree with that in a sense, but that actually could be happening anyway, because if this is something that has come out of, like, let's just say for argument's sake at the moment, no, this has come out of China, right? And it did come from a bat, right? I don't believe that's the case, but there's two things at the moment that I'm feeling. It's either come from nature, but it's come like in some weird roundabout way, right? Or it's come from a lab, right? I believe there is something out there, right? I don't believe in the hoax narrative, and we have discussed this before. I know your opinion is slightly different to mine, my friend, but that's fine. That's from. But let's just say, for argument's sake, at the moment, it is, right? This scenario of what we're being told, it's a virus, it's come from China, it came from Wuhan, the wet market, all the rest of it, and we are being told this, and all the rest of it. And you've got a government in the UK that's simply just come to power, literally in January, and they literally don't know what the hell they're doing, and they don't want people, they don't want to project, they don't know what they're doing. Is that also going to cause the very instability and insanity we've kind of been seeing, in a sense? Because of that human nature. I've always thought to myself, well, can you imagine, literally, you are the person in charge of the health of the entire country. 68 million people are basically looking to see what you are going to do about this virus. How does that affect someone's psychology? How does that affect someone's state of mind? As much as I don't like Matt Hancock.
Not when you can flaunt the rules like they have. Right, I don't think they actually lose an ounce of sleep over this. Right, I've sat there and watched them listen to a story where a guy starved to death in his own flat. Right, and I'd like to think I'm quite clued up on psychology, as in, say, like people watching and stuff like that. I've done psychology, but.
I've actually qualified in it now, haven't you?
Yeah. But they didn't even wince, right? They didn't. There was not one iota of remorse, right, in that story. Now, if somebody told me that I caused someone to starve to death, right, I can't tell you how I would feel. I can't tell you how that. I can't even explain how that would make me feel. They didn't even. Oh my God, it was quite something to watch. The narrative, I believe, is we are polluting this planet. There is a lot of us. We are running out of things. They have decided this months ago, right? If you look at Fauci giving money to Wuhan for this lab, they worked on a coronavirus. There was a bit of a battle going on for supremacy, and it was dropped into the public as just the coronavirus. And now, once we all start to do as we're told, then you'll see the real death toll. And that's my version of what is going on right now. I'm not saying I'm right. I could be way off, but that's how it appears to me in the way they've acted, the way the way Bill Gates is involved in it, Fauci, Obama, all of them, right? Boris, the way they've all conducted themselves in this scenario is quite something to behold. I'm not even sure, and I hate to say it, even if Trump's involved in it somewhere along the lines, because he is, without question, a narcissist. But
yeah, I put a question in a conversation about QAnon the other day. I thought, well, hang on a second. If Trump is doing all this with QAnon, and if that narrative is actually true, then why doesn't he pardon Julian Assange? Because essentially it was Julian Assange that you could argue with the emails that WikiLeaks released in 2016 that basically won Trump the election.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, that is a very valid and good point. Why?
Yeah.
But that's the narrative I'm seeing. Is they wouldn't tell us if a meteor was hurtling towards Earth as we speak, which it happens it is, but that's a different story.
Great.
No, there is actually fine, but never mind. We'll talk about that in the Now News. They wouldn't tell us, right? They wouldn't alert the public. They wouldn't alert anyone to it, right? Because that's going to cause panic problems. And it's you think of all the people who are ill, right? You think of all the people that cost the government their money, right? Because it is their money, right? Who are just ill. And then you've got the people who don't work and this and that, and you've got all these different factors, right? We're talking trillions of pounds they could save and keep for themselves, right? And they send people to wars. They make arms deal. You make an arms deal. People are going to die.
Yeah.
You don't make an arms deal and say somebody's going to get a poke in the eye. You don't.
No, of course not. Of course not.
No. Some stuff that you make arms deal because people are going to die. You sell weapons to kill people. That's the only reason a weapon is made. So you've got to think of the mentality. You've got to look at it out here, right? So if you can create something that is going to take life, then life holds very little value to you.
Yeah.
Over money. You got money, you sell weapons, and life's gone, but I got lots of money. Right? Just look at that mentality. That sums up the world.
And I suppose that's when you say about it being a spiritual war, that's basically what it is. It's a war of ideology. It's a war of money versus life. Essentially, in one of its most simplest forms.
Form.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's money versus life. It's my affluence versus your poverty, basically. It's I want you so you can't have. And I suppose it's like the models that I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, a member of my family, and I said, you look at the game of Monopoly. We were talking about monopolies, and I said the game of Monopoly basically is, the ultimate goal of a monopoly is I have everything, you have nothing, and that is something that you can't base a society on. Sooner or later, that society is going to collapse. It's going to fall. Because you can't have a top-heavy system, which is what we're seeing with, was it 2% of the people, less than 2% or less than 1% of the people now having 99% of the wealth. And especially, even if this is one of the reasons why I think this possibly came from nature, is what it could do, and it could do this very destructively and in a very bad way, is reset that balance. Because ultimately, if you're being put in positions where people can't go about the normal business of the treadmill and consuming things, ultimately businesses are going to fail. Businesses fail, people lose their jobs, they can't spend money, therefore they lose their houses, and therefore it brings down the banking system and brings down things like the stock market and that sort of thing. So this is the thing I think a lot of people can't get their head around. If this is a conspiracy, why would they want to crash the own stock market that's giving them money? And go on, sorry.
Yeah, well, it doesn't, that's the thing, it doesn't affect their money. if the world economy crashed tomorrow, it doesn't affect their wealth. It doesn't affect the things they have, because as like the Federal Reserve, they trade in gold, right? It's a different form of currency. It's the only currency that actually stands. So if the virus was somehow genetically engineered, or nature genetically engineered it, just stick the money and then affect the human, then the 1% might be unlucky. But it is only actually, it's less than 1% of the population that could, well, it's 0.01% of the population that could actually die from it. So I don't think it would reset the balance, personally, like looking at it from that point of view. But I'm not saying it's not,
well,
but
no,
I'm just saying
the reaction to it could. The reaction to it, the way in which people are reacting to it, that could transform. Well, it is transforming, but people are not going to the cities as much. They are not. Obviously, you have, I think it's 37% of capacity now in the cities, and obviously with these new restrictions that have come down, more and more people are having to work from home. And actually, I find that working from home is better for a lot of people. I'm not saying for everyone, but a lot of people are actually benefiting from, especially in like the creative industries and that sort of thing. There's a lot of things coming out. Now, I don't know, perhaps if you work in a creative industry, you want to say you believe differently, then please let me know. But that's just from the information I've been seeing. There's been a lot of areas of society there where actually people would prefer to carry on working from home but be sociable in other ways and not be sociable through their job. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But what it's actually, it is having that effect of people are not going to the cities as much. They're not going shopping as much. They're not even using the pubs as much. It has altered the way in which people are behaving.
Which is meant to.
I don't think you could be. I don't think you could be thing for that, because either way you look at that, it's meant to. It's either meant to because you're controlling the spread of the virus, or it's meant to because you're controlling people. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no. Which is, to control the virus, you have to control people. So, I mean, if the majority of the people I've spoke to actually said that, you get the so-and-sos. I shouldn't say so-and-sos, but get the people who like to work from home because they got all home comforts. But the majority of people I'm finding out who have said, "Oh, this is going to be great working from home," I'm actually missing that social interaction of going into work and talking to people and having the banter. And that was my favourite. The only part of work I really enjoyed ever was that interaction with my colleagues and the banter and winding each other up and taking a mick out of each other. It just seems, and this is from my point of view, it just seems all a bit too convenient from my point of view. Everything is like you can't get out of that because of that. And if you get into that, you've got to take that into a factor. It's a really split thing. This is, we're talking personally, this is just my opinion, that clever people have thought about this for a long time. And it's one of them things that, you don't just think of the argument, you think of the counter argument, and it's that what we're left with. You can say, yeah, there is a virus and it's deadly and it's affecting everybody and people are dying from it. But even, as I stated in a video that YouTube took down, there is that possibility, and what people are saying is that if it's a hoax, if it is made up, then this is how it could be done. This is how it could be achieved, because it is happening.
Amanda says in the chat, so basically what you're saying is they deliberately released this virus to kill off some of the population that costs the government money. Have I summed that up right? And she says, basically, creatively as a supporting actress, The creative as a supporting actress this crazy year has destroyed my income. I meant people sort of not so much in the acting field. I meant sort of creative in the sense of like in from like people like ourselves, then in the sense of YouTubers. Could it have been deliberately released? Possibly. I don't think you can negate that. I would say if it is man-made, I don't think it was deliberately released. I think it was released more, not deliberately released by some supervillain to go, I want to kill off half the world, but maybe someone, looking to profit or something like that, where it's actually come out of the lab and sort of, because we did get those reports coming out of the US, I think it was the State Department back in January, where they did say they had intercepted bioweapons that were being smuggled out of China. But at the end of the day, what the hell are we doing making bioweapons in the first place? So either way, whether it's someone sort of saying, I want to do this to destroy X amount, if it came from a lab, then why was the lab working on it? If it was a bioweapon, then the mentality of creating such a thing which we know exists, such a thing in the first place, has created that outcome. So I don't necessarily believe that someone has gone, we're going to do this for that particular outcome. But I do believe it is a possibility that it could have been created in a laboratory and escaped from that laboratory. And there have been numerous mainstream sources that have come out and said similar things. So I don't know whether or not it's that. I personally, you look at things like the climate changing, right? The permafrost, we've had 34 degrees in Siberia, record temperatures in Siberia. We're looking at other things like, regardless of the virus, the fires that we've had this year, the volcanic eruptions we've had this year, the 34 degrees in Siberia happening this year, the ice caps melting at such a high rate, which God knows what's under those ice caps. So, all the UFO stuff has come out this year, all the Black Lives Matter stuff has come out this year. There's more going on than just the pandemic at the moment. There's so many layers that I think ultimately it won't matter where it's come from anyway, because what we're dealing with is the effect of it.
Well, if the virus broke in good old Pontypridd, right? If the virus broke out in Pontypridd, right, and it was said that some stray badger was carrying coronavirus, and some numpty from Ponty decided to eat a bit of roadkill, right? You'd be like, freaking people are nuts. You just thought, oh shit, right. What's on? Get ready for it. The fact it come out in Wuhan, where there is a bioweapon lab that has been funded by, and this is proven, this is not a conspiracy, by Fauci and his organization, who is part of Bill Gates and the World Health Organization. They're all little funders of it. Why else would you go, no, hang about. Say what again? If it happened, like I said, if it happened up the road, right, or up in Mardi, right, and like I said, pigeon, somebody did pigeon, you take it, you just go, Christ, them fucking valleys people, they're mad. Still got black and white berries and we live in caves, so you'd expect it. Yeah. But it's the location, everything. It is. I personally think, I just believe. You look at the oceans, right? You look at the whole thing of it. You look at pollution. You look at places. There's a good one, for example, Dubai, right? You look at Dubai. It's like £93 for a Big Mac in Dubai. £93 for a Big Mac, right? Or something. The Dubai airport is the most expensive. I paid 20 odd quid for a Big Mac in Turkey. and apparently that was pretty cheap to buy. Now you look at like they got flying coppers out there, and they on heli bikes. They got monorails. They got Atlantis. You know, you can have your dinner with Captain Friggin' Nemo. If you look at that, how that or what money wants you to live like, what you believe is money can give you, right? That version of paradise. You know, it shows that ladder, right? Now they want to keep that perfect, right? But unfortunately, as we speak, out in the Atlantic is a pile of rubbish bigger than Wales floating around, right? And there's plastic killing, and they killing fish. We're polluting with our cars. We're chucking our rubbish out. We only have to go down Barry Beach, man, and watch it on a bank all the day. It is so disgusting. Now, if you took away the mindset of someone that wants to sell weapons to kill people, if you took away that mindset, right, these were really good people now that's in charge. They want to save the planet, right? They're the best humanity can be. That's going to make you want to do something. You get in that mindset, well, they're going to destroy humanity. They're going to destroy the world for my children and my grandchildren. Right? All these people that give zero shits for the planet and what it means. So you've got that scale, which is there. It's in society. We've seen it. Right? So take away that narcissistic, as long as I'm right, the rest of you can go. You put in the do-gooders. They're going to see us in that sense. See, there's two scenarios there that are going to cause an action, right? Or a reaction to an action. So you've got to follow the breadcrumbs, right? And you'll see it's what they're not talking about. You've got to look beyond that, and you'll find the truth.
Yeah.
And you know, the world is going down the Swanee, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it's the government. It's personally, you know, on our level, you're making it.
Well, this is the thing, right? And I think just you've brought a really interesting point there, right? Because I think a lot of people are looking for leadership, right? And are they looking for, you know, the system that we currently have worldwide is the highest bidder wins, essentially, right? Because you can't. If we were sat here in Illinois or we were sat here in New York, right? We couldn't just go, well, I'm going to run for president. Jared Walters 2024, right? Or I'm going to run for prime minister, right? You have got that kind of system as well where wherever you are, you've got that kind of, like in Britain, you've got Labour or the Conservatives, right? Any sort of other system that come out, you did have the Lib Dems, and Nick Clegg took care of that in 2010, because basically they've been decimated since the 2015 election. But essentially, whoever's got the money, right, is likely to get the job. Now, the pay packet for Prime Minister in the UK was like 250 grand, something like that. It's just, compared to like the CEO of a company.
Yeah, so they say.
It is nothing, right?
Christ, what Tony made what?
Yeah, but a lot of that comes from the things that he has afterwards, the things that he's done afterwards, the lobbyists and that sort of thing that has happened after, you know, or whether or not he gets income through other means. But the official wage I'm talking about now, right? Either way, in our society, money wins. Money creates the mindset of the leaders that we have, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is where, you know, we, I suppose, need to challenge ourselves and other people, is how can we be leaders in our own lives, in our own circles, in our own influences, that, you know, we try our best, and we're humans, we're going to mess it up, but we try our best literally to lead by example. And that's, that's something that, I'm not seeing people do. There's you look at any sort of YouTube channel, any commentator, they're either on this side or that side or that side of the argument. They're not trying to do like we are doing this evening and sort of talking about the whole situation, trying to sort of look at the breadth of it. And I know it's too much. There's so much going on, and we've said this when we've been given these messages over the course of the last few years. It's too much. It's too much that's happening for one person to even comprehend it. To comprehend it, it's too much. It is. But what we can comprehend is how we be leaders, and it comes back to the points that we originally made at the start of this discussion. Is you can be shoulder to shoulder with that person that thinks differently to you. Just because we are saying what we're thinking doesn't necessarily mean we are right. What most people look for in leaders is what they say, and it's the same. We see this as mediums, but when we've done mediumship, when I've given people psychic readings, they much prefer me to lie to them and say everything's going to be okay than actually tell them what I'm genuinely feeling, which happens to be the truth, which is this is going to happen, or this is happening because of X, Y, and Z, and this is what you need to do to put it right. And that's the thing, and I think that's the mindset that we need to come out of. Is learning to actually take this information, take what we're learning, and be leaders in our example. And I think that's what we're seeing a lack of, especially in the spiritual community, but especially in the communities of people that are disseminated and having these types of discussions online. And I think that's, I just want to kind of elaborate on that, because you brought that point up. It's like a lot of people don't believe, you get that mindset of they're just going to do what they do. They're not out for us, so we're going to be out for ourselves. And I think if you actually had more and more people who stepped up and tried to be leaders, especially in positions of influence, not necessarily positions of power, but positions of influence, it would inspire more and more people to well, if they can do it and they've done it and this is how they've done it, perhaps I can do the same.
Well, shall we, run for Prime Minister? Shall we genuinely, do a party political broadcast? Have to think of a party name, right?
The Monster Raven Looney Party's already been taken. Sorry,
they will win the next election anyway, so we'll be up against them.
We'll be the opposition.
We'll be the opposition against the Monster Raven Looney Party. Because if the Labour wins or the Tories win or the Conservative, there's no way. I say that I said this for Corbyn, and I was completely blown away by the decision.
But this is the thing, right? This is the thing, right? When you look at Corbyn, it's the same thing. It's like everyone put their faith into another person. Perhaps one of the things that we could look at in the way we have these discussions and we dedicate this channel is we can do it through this and the way that we do it with Paranormal Now. We've already been doing it. Is we've been showing through the evidence that we've gathered. We're not a spooky paranormal channel. We don't put videos out to scare people. All the evidence that we've collected with the paranormal is all back to that thing of encouraging people to be the best of themselves. And I think maybe, we could start a party political. We could start our own politics, but give it a go.
Yeah, I'm
up for that.
Yeah, I got no qualms about that. Don't think anybody vote for us, but when we give it a go. I mean, that's all you've got to do is put on a suit and everything. You've got to go around giving people lanyards and stuff and some, just making up stuff, saying you're going to do all this, never do it. I can do that. I can say I'll do everything. Nobody does it. I can do that all day.
But I think
I'll be easy.
I think the point of it, is to actually do it. Is to lead by example.
See, that's where everybody's going wrong. That's where these MPs and all that are going wrong, isn't it? Because they don't actually do anything.
No, exactly. That's the point.
So, all right. So we'll have a plan.
We actually have to. If you're going to do it, but you're going to have to do it.
All right, that's fair enough. I'll do it. Yeah, whatever I got. Some babies and I don't know, get egged and kiss Donald
what?
Trump, get egged.
Oh,
Kiss
get
Donald
egged.
Trump. I got no problems if I make this country a better place. Wales, though, I gotta be honest, like England, are they going to be happy about having a freaking taffy as prime minister? I don't know if they are. They, do you know what I mean? Because one sheep joke and that'll be it. I'd be big red button press, but so no, yeah, we'll do a party. We'll do a YouTube party political broadcast, right? And I'll put down exactly. You can do it as well, Jazz. You do it what you want to do. I'll do it. I'll put exactly what I would do to this country. There we are. See what people think about it. That's a bit of food for thought.
What would we do as politicians?
Oh, I got plenty. Well, first thing I do is give the NHS. They would never have to pay tax again, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'd find out whether this lot has gone on. Mine first. I'd want to know some facts about this COVID-19 and what's actually been going on in the hospitals. But they wouldn't pay tax. Nor would the police. Nor would the fire brigade. Right. For starters, they wouldn't have to pay tax. Right. Tax break. If you're going to be a police officer, you're going to be a nurse or a doctor, you're going to work in a fire brigade, you don't pay tax, right? Immigrants, right? Because this is what cost COVID is seen. Now, unless you're a family, right? And if you flee in a war-torn country, if you're a family, a genuine DNA structured family, right? And you want to come to the UK because you want a better life, right? And you've got something to genuinely contribute to the country, and you're more than welcome. If you're a 25-year-old bloke, right, who was whatever, right, then I'm sorry, you don't fit the bill, right, unless you're a doctor or you have some extraordinary skill that the country needs. You don't come in.
What if they
right?
are genuine? Well, at the end of the day, there are people who are fleeing genuine places, but they're not part of a family.
That if they come with a family, right?
Yeah, but what if they're just a single person that's experiencing persecution in the country, like?
Well, that you'll have to come with some sort of evidence, unfortunately, but because I tell you why, because people in this country are really not happy about it, right? And if you can't learn to deal with it, then we got to divide it, right? And that's up to that country, right? If you're going to come here with the rules of your country, then why didn't you stay in your country? I'm sorry. I know as spiritual as I am, and I want everybody in this world to have a proper, happy, good life. But that is just something that has to be done.
Yeah.
Right? That country, I'd stop funding that country. I'd stop giving money to that country. Right? I'd cut it on the head. Right? We just stop. If you can't sort out your own people, what do you? I would have a team of people to screen these people. But I'd employ thousands of people now. The 74,000 people that have been put out to work with COVID-19, I would employ them to screen people who want to come into this country. Right? I don't care if it wasn't achievable. I'd have them lined up on the freaking beaches. Right? There you go. Right? None of this COVID testing malarkey for a minute. Let's get that sorted because that's happening every day. Hundreds and hundreds of them. Right? Then I would look at education. I would look at where the taxes go. I would look at the banking system. I would look at loans. I might even, if it needed be, if we had to look at tax as a whole, right? And that's tax across the board. There would be so many things I would do, but I would look at health in this country. I would look at people who are on the sick, and I would actually, like people who are working from home now.
Yeah.
I would ask them, would you like to do something from home? If you feel like you can't go out in society and because of your health, you can't, do you think there's anything you could do a couple of hours a week, 20 minutes a week? You take the load off. There's enough people in this country, gives them something to do. They could socialize over it, right? They get more benefits. They don't just have the same benefits, they get extra benefits if they want to contribute to making this country the country it was designed to be. Right? So, across the board now. I get Scotland back on board because I'd be like, because they won, right? There'd be so many things I would put forward, right? I got a list of things that can make every aspect of life better, right? And for starters, I wouldn't let the government and this, like, the lords and all this malarkey have to say everything would be put to the people first.
So would you govern would you govern by referendum then?
Yeah, everything would be put to the people first.
Isn't there a bit of a disadvantage with that, though, with the fact that, like, you know, it took them God knows how long to organise the European referendum, and look how that turned out.
Oh, no. The only reason the European referendum was such a shambles because there was too many people at the top that had divided and invested interests in Europe. That's why it was a shambles, right? It's not they couldn't organise it; they could, right? The votes go through quick enough when we have a particle, you know, when we change office. It's just because there was so many people vested in Europe, and they didn't want us, and it was done for other reasons. I personally believe, anyway, Brexit. But there we are, and yeah, that would be just some of the things, some of the issues I would look at straight away. And I would stop having people like Americans. I'm sorry if this offends, but I would stop having American banking cartels telling the UK where they can spend their money. That would all have to be gone, right? Same with our military, right? I would be like, come on, out, back home. We got things to sort out over here. Homeless, that issue would be kids living on the streets. Oh no, wouldn't be none of that. It wouldn't be none of that. It'd be priority. It wouldn't be charity. Mm-hmm. Cancer. If you we cure cancer, because I wouldn't allow Big Pharma to hold the monopoly on everything. So, you know, there's just a couple of issues. But
I would definitely say I'd incentivize non-profit healthcare.
Yeah. Healthcare would be, you know, our healthcare system has been recognised as one of the best in the world until we started selling it.
Yeah.
Until we started making money out of it. We know who's making money out of it. But yeah, there would be so many issues, but you could just, there's more than enough of us to sort these issues out. But yeah, I'd be probably dead in a week though. So just saying, it'd be a very short term in office. And you laugh, like we're laughing, but deep down, somewhere in your soul, you know that might be true.
Yeah.
You feel that was true, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
If I even tried some of the things I just said.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
Does that tell you what the world you live in?
Yeah.
That fear, it's there, it's in there.
Okay, Stein.
Anybody that's ever tried to make good in this world, they're dead. And they didn't die of natural causes.
Well, I think we're coming to the end of the show because it's been about an hour now that we've been talking. I don't know if we've helped people make sense of life in 2020 or we've just made it worse.
If I watched that back, I wouldn't make sense of it. So, but thanks for sticking by us.
To be honest, right, it is. I'm glad over the last couple of weeks, and you know, whether or not people enjoy it or not, I suppose it would be good to. We'll see the feedback hopefully, but to inject a bit of humour and to inject a bit of discussion and a bit of debate, because you know it's good. I personally believe we need to look at all aspects of it. You know, and if you need to have a look at, you know, what is happening, why people believe certain things they believe, and we need to look at all sides of this sort of thing, because I think that the conversations need to be had, because we're all having these conversations about these things that are affecting us. We're all having these conversations in our households, and you know, whether or not we justifiably... I seen something the other day, like I said to you privately, I seen something the other day from a thing about Mr. Gates. You've ploughed all this money into, you know, on the face of it, curing people through vaccination. You vaccinated over X amount of millions of people. You've left 90% of your wealth, which is like one of the richest people in the world, to like to a place like the World Health Organization, and to, you know, what you personally could believe is what is going to benefit the health of a lot of people, and you are vilified online as some sort of supervillain, you know. So you could look at it from that perspective. I personally don't. I don't really think about the man at all, to be perfectly honest with you. I just don't like some of the stuff I've seen in the interviews with him. But I've always looked at it from understanding's your side, their side, and the truth. And I think the truth, as we always find with our investigations and when we've looked at it from the paranormal side of things, is always a lot stranger than fiction.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, all joking aside, it is crazy out there at the moment. And, you know, there is comfort in the fact that it is every day there is more and more people asking, why is this so crazy?
Yeah.
And the more we ask that question, just that simple question, the more there is a chance that we'll get an answer.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to keep in mind, guys. We just keep trucking through, keep your little unit safe, right? Keep the people you love close, and don't worry about what anybody tells you about that, right? Because nobody has the right to tell you that you can't be with the people you love, right? No one, for any reason.
I don't care.
Right?
No.
If there was the deadliest, genuinely the realest, deadliest virus on earth was out there, no one has the right to tell you not to be with the people you love, regardless, right? That is a free will choice. If the people you love don't want you to be around them, then that's fair enough. But if you want to be around the people you love and they want you around, you be around them.
Yeah.
And that isn't flawed in any rules. That's just a fact of life.
That's just being there for the people you care about.
Yeah, that's a different ball game. You take your chances when it comes to the people you love. You take the chances with, you know, God and nature and whatever's out there. But yeah, you know, I know it seems a bit. I personally think it's going to get a little bit crazier before it gets better. But, you know, keep the faith in the fact that it will get better.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining us on this intrepid journey this evening. Thank you, Richard, and thank you to everyone who contributed to the chat, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Have a night, para peeps.